Good morning, this is your daily briefing from today's headlines, the New York Times newsletter, for Wednesday, August 5, 2026. I'm your host, and we have a packed edition today, from a nail-biter of a Senate primary in Michigan to a dramatic Oval Office confrontation, record stock markets, and a surprising Broadway debut. Let's dive in. We start with the top political story of the morning, the Democratic primary for Michigan's open Senate seat. As of 4 a.m. Eastern, the race between Dr. Abdul El-Sayed, a progressive former Detroit health director, and Representative Haley Stevens, a centrist from the Detroit suburbs, remain too close to call. The live updates from our team on the ground show that El-Sayed has now been declared the winner, securing the nomination in a contest that drew national attention as a proxy fight for the party's direction. Stevens conceded shortly after the call, and El-Sayed will face the Republican nominee in November. Also voting yesterday, Kansas, Missouri, Virginia, and Washington, with results still coming in across those states. Staying in Washington, but moving to the Oval Office, there was a remarkable scene late Monday. Jeanine Pirro, the U.S. Attorney for the District of Columbia, marched into the president's office with her future on the line and Interior Secretary Doug Burgum in her crosshairs. According to our White House and Justice Department reporters, Pirro, known for her voluble style, told President Trump directly that Burgum had misled him with what she called a self-serving cover story for his own mistakes. She privately referred to him as an incompetent liar. The confrontation came just hours after Trump had publicly accused Pirro of something else entirely from the Resolute desk, making for an extraordinary moment of inter-administration conflict played out at the highest level. On Wall Street, the S&P 500 roared back to a record high, rising 1.8% and surpassing its early June peak. The rally caps a stunning turnaround from the recent tech sell-off, with the index up nearly 6% over the past week. Joe Renison and Aruni Soni report that the gains were led by a recovery in technology stocks and bolstered by renewed optimism about a potential peace deal between Iran and the United States. The market had been jittery after comments from the new Federal Reserve Chair, Kevin Warsh, but those worries appear to be easing for now. Let's turn overseas. In China, a quiet social revolution is unfolding. Younger non-smokers are increasingly refusing to suffer secondhand smoke in silence, leading to more visible confrontations. Barry Wang reports from Hong Kong on Amanda Zhang, a student in her 20s, who was out with her mother, recently recovered from lung cancer surgery when they were engulfed in cigarette smoke in a Nanjing shopping mall corridor. Zhang confronted the smokers, citing the indoor ban, and when they persisted, she photographed them and reported them to authorities. It's a scene playing out across the country as a generation raised on anti-smoking messaging asserts its rights. Tensions are rising between Washington and Brasilia. The State Department has revoked the visa of Brazil's ambassador in Washington, deepening a diplomatic crisis. Details remain sparse, but the move signals a sharp deterioration in relations between the two largest democracies in the hemisphere. In South Korea, a country desperate for babies, it has one of the world's lowest fertility rates. The emergency care system for newborns is breaking down. Jin Yu-young reports from Seoul on a tragic case. A baby born in a small clinic turned blue immediately. The nearest neonatal intensive care unit had lost its specialist to burnout after 90-hour weeks, another had no beds. The infant died en route to a third hospital 30 minutes away. The clinic later learned the first NICU had been staffed by another specialist that night, but the damage was done. It's a stark illustration of a system collapsing under the weight of impossible workloads and a shrinking medical workforce. Back in the U.S., in Spokane County, Washington, a resident's sharp eyes may have stopped a wildfire arsonist. Paul Child and his grandson spotted a man acting fidgety and nervous near a railroad stretch of tall grass. Minutes later, Child's daughter saw smoke. He called 911, and police arrested a suspect tied to one of the area's wildfires. Pooja Silhotra and Anna Griffin have the story. Also on the West Coast, an armed man was arrested at Trump National Golf Club in Rancho Palos Verdes, near Los Angeles, over the weekend. Authorities say Janine John Tale of Downey, California, was found with a loaded firearm and had been photographing the property, appearing to observe security planning activities days before President Trump spoke at a fundraiser there Tuesday night. He faces multiple weapons violations. Orlando Mayorkas reports from Los Angeles. Chipotle has pulled jalapenos from its restaurants nationwide after the Minnesota Department of Health linked them to a salmonella outbreak with 110 confirmed cases. The FDA is also investigating. The chain says it's acting out of an abundance of caution. In foreign policy, Michael Crowley writes that Iran's leaders have perplexed several American presidents, perhaps none more than Donald Trump.
Trump's angry claim Monday that Iran was being unbelievably duplicitous reflects his struggle to understand Tehran.
He considers himself a master of sizing up adversaries, but Iran baffles him. "All they do is make me angry," he told reporters last week. And more frustration may be coming as Trump officials say a new deal is taking shape. In Arizona, Democratic Governor Katie Hobbs, locked in a tough re-election fight, plans to name Republican John Giles, the moderate former mayor of Mesa, as her lieutenant governor running mate. It's a bold bipartisan gambit in a competitive race, signaling an appeal to center-right voters. Sigel Govindureo, Kellen Browning, and Reese Thibault have the details. A federal judge expressed deep regret Tuesday as he granted the Justice Department's request to dismiss seditious conspiracy charges against 8 Oath Keepers militia members for their role in the January 6 Capitol attack. Judge Amit Mehta blasted the administration's request, saying it bestowed unearned grace on the defendants by wiping their records clean. It follows a similar pain dismissal for members of another far-right group last month.
Alan Feuer was in the courtroom. In business, a federal judge has set a March trial date for the antitrust lawsuit challenging Paramount's $111 billion acquisition of Warner Bros. Discovery. Judge Araceli Martinez-Oldwin ruled the 12-day trial will begin March 2, a timeline that could further delay one of the biggest media deals ever.
It's a win for the coalition of 12 state attorneys general suing to block the merger.
Benjamin Mullen reports. Speaking of the Fed, Kevin Warsh is under pressure after his latest public appearance set off market volatility. Colby Smith writes that Warsh wanted regime change in monetary policy, but a reset may need to come first. Every Fed chair learns that their words are parsed with microscopic precision. Yellen in 2014, Powell later, and Warsh is now learning that lesson the hard way as he tries to clarify his commitment to bringing inflation down. The U.S. trade deficit narrowed slightly to $73.3 billion in June as both imports and exports declined from a busy May. Imports fell 1.8% to $388 billion, though imports from Mexico, Vietnam, and South Korea hit records. Exports dropped 0.9% to $314.7 billion as petroleum exports retreated from a historic high. Anna Swanson notes the World Cup effect. Last year's tournament distorted trade flows, but the underlying trend shows a cooling in trade volume. On technology, the White House is readying a voluntary AI security review framework, but it will cover only closed-source models like those from Anthropic and OpenAI, excluding open-source models that publish their underlying code. David McCabe, Mike Isaac, Kate Conger, and Anna Swanson report that the plan was outlined Tuesday in a meeting with top AI companies. SpaceX, in its first earnings report since its June IPO, the largest ever, which briefly made Elon Musk the world's first trillionaire, revealed capital expenditures jumped nearly sevenfold year-over-year as it pours money into AI infrastructure, including ambitions to launch AI data centers into space. Revenue also rose, but the stock has been volatile. Ryan Mack reports from Los Angeles. New Jersey's Attorney General sued Amazon Tuesday under federal antitrust law, accusing the company of abusing its market power to suppress pay for delivery drivers and companies. The suit alleges Amazon controls its network of delivery service partners, limits their growth, and micromanages pay and working conditions. Karen Weiss has covered Amazon since 2018 and breaks down the complaint. In New York City, after a midtown high-rise at 235 East 42nd Street buckled on July 7, columns giving way during conversion of the former Pfizer headquarters, officials inspected 180 construction sites connected to the firms involved. They found dozens of violations, though none posed immediate danger. Some work was shut down. Mihir Javeri, Patrick McGeehan, and Arfa Momin have the story. And the city's infamous parking sticker of shame is back after a 14-year hiatus. Bright neon green shield-shaped stickers are being slapped on cars that don't move for street sweepers, coupled with a $65 ticket. Emma Fitzsimmons watched Councilwoman Gail Brewer personally apply the first stickers on the Upper West Side Tuesday morning. The stickers were used for 25 years before being retired in 2012. If you're staying in the city this August, our critics have 11 staycation spots that can transport you without leaving town, from hidden gardens to rooftop bars to museum corners that feel worlds away. On Broadway, Bowen Yang, Emmy-nominated SNL alum, will make his debut next month as Mary Todd Lincoln in Cole Escola's Tony-winning historical spoof Oh, Mary. He begins a 12-week engagement September 15 at the Lyceum Theater. Malia Mendez reports the show, originally a limited run, has now played over 100 weeks and is heading to a national tour. Off-Broadway, Andrew Stein's play Disruption imagines an AI startup pitch among tech brothers. Tim Tiemann reviews John David Washington's performance. He has the swagger,
but the drama falls flat in a season already crowded with AI-themed theater. At the Venice Dance Biennale, Russian ballerina Diana Vishneva made a quiet but powerful return, raising uncomfortable questions for an event that once vowed to cut ties with Russian artists over the war in Ukraine. Laura Capel reports from Venice on the controversy that saw the EU withdraw a multi-year grant to the Biennale earlier this year. In books, A.O. Scott dissects the opening page of Gillian Flynn's Gone Girl, arguing it's the best thriller of the 21st century, a masterclass in marital dysfunction and narrative manipulation. And we've got a printable list of the 50 best thrillers of the century so you can track your reading. On the food front, Tejal Rao reviews Dakar Nola in New Orleans, where chef Sarine Bey traces Creole food back to West Africa with a soupa kanja okra stew with fermented locust beans, smoked seafood, Gulf crab and shrimp that draws a straight line from Dakar to gumbo. It's groundbreaking fine dining. In Chinatown, Bar Chucho, from the team behind Michelin-starred Karaima, overachieves as a neighborhood bar while staying true to its purpose, with a great burger at a fair price. And the former Neary's space on East 57th Street has become Derby Club, with Chris Coco, Craig Hudson, and Chef Ed Cotton bringing polished wood, vintage chandeliers, and a menu of steak Diane, chicken pot pie, and rack of lamb with Neary's mint jelly. It's in soft opening before a full launch August 19th. In science, a federal appeals court ruled the EPA cannot block billions in climate grants frozen since early in Trump's second term. In a split decision, the D.C. Circuit upheld an injunction requiring access to the $20 billion Greenhouse Gas Reduction Fund, a Biden-era green bank, as the case proceeds. If the EPA doesn't appeal to the Supreme Court within 7 days, the funds will be effectively reinstated. Claire Brown reports. Footage from Australia shows a dolphin named Fraggle carrying her dead 2-week-old calf, a haunting glimpse of what experts call grieving behavior, common but rarely observed. She'd already lost 3 previous calves. So Pond Deb has the story. And Darwin was right. Scientists have proven that a species of plant covered in sticky hairs, Saxifraga, is carnivorous, confirming a 150-year-old hunch. Jack Tamasia writes that Darwin devoted years to carnivorous plants, once remarking he cared more about sundews than the origin of all the species in the world. In health, the CDC has expanded a Cyclospora outbreak linked to iceberg lettuce to 6 more states: Arkansas, Iowa, Missouri, Nebraska, New Hampshire, and North Carolina, bringing the total to 15 states. A formal response team is being set up. Apoorva Mandavilli, Danny Blum, and Caroline Hopkins-Legaspi report. The Justice Department charged Dr. Stephen Dubin, a Nevada wound care doctor, with a $95 million Medicare fraud scheme applying expensive, unnecessary skin substitutes made from dehydrated placentas to elderly patients and using the profits to buy yachts. Sarah Cliff, who investigated the skin substitute industry in 2025, has the details. We're also asking readers, if you aspire to live to 100 or beyond, how do you hope to do it? What inspires you? Share your stories for a special October section on longevity. Travel, airport lines are grueling, but airlines and airports are testing biometric screening and remote check-in to slash wait times. Christine Chung reports on the new initiatives. In real estate, a Vancouver couple learned all their narrow home's quirks, then renovated them away into minimalist elegance. And former New York City Ballet principal Jennifer Ringer found her perfect fit on Roosevelt Island when she returned for a job at the School of American Ballet, surprised by how the island ticked every box. A special screening of Tony, the new Anthony Bourdain biopic, brought restaurant workers, servers, line cooks, dishwashers, chefs to theaters in 25 cities. Bourdain once called professional kitchens the last refuge of the misfit. Alicia Haridasani Gupta was there. Jack Johnson's frozen in-time anthems of Going with the Flow have become the soundtrack to a summer of hopecore, a vibe of gentle optimism. If you're stressed, maybe try being Jack Johnson for a bit. And in London street style, 62-year-old Pauline Harris wears a lavender linen jumpsuit accessorized with chunky, heavy jewelry, fake rocks with real heft, from her own leather shop, Cromford Leather Company. Simparash Cha captures the look. Emilio Pepe, the visionary Abruzzo winemaker who championed indigenous grapes and traditional methods when others abandoned them, has died at 94. His wines, prized for decades of aging potential, inspired a generation. Eric Asimov remembers him. In the magazine, Willie Staley ate like RFK Jr. for a week: steak, sauerkraut, and a mysterious yellow-green liquid from a doctor advising Trump cabinet members. The results were fascinating. Finally, opinion: Bret Stephens begs you never write with AI. It's bad for your brain and worse for democracy. German Lopez explores why Wyoming's suicide rate is double the national average: isolation and easy access to guns.
Ezra Klein's show examines the backlash against AI data centers uniting left and right. Emily Keegan looks at 25 artifacts that explain America. Our panel weighs in on the Minnesota Senate primary. David Ellison defends the Paramount-Warner deal. And Jayakonda Belli shows what a desperate dictatorship looks like in Nicaragua. That's your briefing for this Wednesday, August 5th. Thanks for listening, we'll be back tomorrow with more. Have a good day.